Hey guys, welcome back to According To. I'm Megan.
And I'm Ciera. This episode is going to be all about third spaces. I feel like it's been kind of making its way around the internet, like not necessarily like in huge waves. Or
This
like
is probably not the first time you've heard this terminology.
Yes. But if it is your first time, we will dive into it, explain kind of the history of it and how it, I feel like, has been affected by modern culture, the internet, things like that.
Probably a little bit too.
Because it really, like, they are super important for society as a whole. And I feel like some people have found their way back to them. Some people are struggling. Some people seek out, I think, the community that a third space offers, but they don't know, like, what they're looking for. And so we're just going to kind of dive into all of that, our experiences with third places and all that jazz.
Mm-hmm. Before we do that, we are going to, of course, talk about our weekly spotlights. Ciera, I just remembered what your weekly spotlight is because she told me not to let her forget.
They do have a specific one.
And then we will review our recent book updates and anything else you want to share.
I have a specific weekly spotlight. I finally got a prescription refilled for fluocinolone. It is our lotion that we use for eczema. And I initially got it prescribed back in 2019. I think I've probably gotten it refilled since then. But when I got it filled, I was in Iowa City, and I saw the dermatologist over there. And I've been, like, using the tube. It's probably been expired, honestly, like, for a while. But, like, I still had some left. So it would, like, work well enough. And a couple weeks ago, I was like, it's out. And also a couple weeks ago, my eczema just, like, flared up, like, pretty badly. Like, the worst it's been in a while. And, like, I do what I can. Like, sometimes I'm, trying Eucerin, trying just, like, the generic, unscented lotions.
Cortisone 10.
Cortisone eczema. And I'm like, it's just not doing what I need it to do. And so I was trying to figure out, like, do I need to go to a dermatologist? Do I need to go to my provider? I was briefly looking into, like, because I didn't want to go do an office visit. I was looking into, like, there's certain apps you can utilize to, like, see a telehealth provider and, like, do it that way. And lo and behold, all I had to do, I messaged on my chart my provider saying, hey, can I get this refilled? It's out. My eczema is worse. And then there's, like, a few back and forth messages. I sent a picture of my eczema, and they were like, yeah. And so that was it. I've been using it. I can use it for a few more days before I need to, take a break so I don't, risk steroid withdrawal.
That's not steroid, is it?
I don't know. I feel like it would be. But
I don't know.
I could look it up. But, like, you're only supposed to use it, for 7 to 10 days.
Steroids usually are a white cream, and that is not.
Yeah, it's clear. I don't know. Maybe I'll look it up. But they still only said I could use it for, like, 7 to 10 days, and then I need to take a break for a little bit. But my eczema has already cleared up so much. It's no longer painful. And so I'm hoping once it gets back on track, I can go back to just, like, my regular lotions and stuff that I was using, and then I'll have that new fluocinolone tucked away for my next flare-up.
My weekly spotlight, I don't know if this is a weekly spotlight, but I felt really accomplished after the fact, so I'm going to share the story anyways. And if you want to witness what I'm talking about, I made a TikTok about it. So yesterday, Sunday, I was kind of like, well, first of all, the amount of time I spent on my phone yesterday was crazy. But I was kind of trying to be like, what can I do and, like, to be productive, not on my phone. And I didn't really feel like reading at that time either. So I did a little bit of rearranging in my closet. I had, like, some towels and stuff that I needed to, like, get organized a little bit more. And then I just kind of started thinking about, like, how my faucet in my bathroom has been leaking for, like, just a few months now. Like, I have to get it. I had to. This is what I worked on over the weekend. I had to, like, it was like a single handle where you would, like, turn it one way to be hot, one way to be cold, and then, down to turn it off. And I'd have to, like, slam it down with quite a bit of force and, like, get it just off to the right side to, like, get it so it was, like, leaking as little as possible. And I was finally sick of dealing with that. So I've been telling myself, and honestly, like, since we've moved in, I've always known, like, changing the faucet would be, like, a nice, easy refresh.
Easy.
So this has been on my mind for a while, and I was like, how hard can this be? So I looked up a YouTube video. I like, if I can, to try a home project out first if I can, if it's not too much of a hassle. Like, I've had issues with, like, my toilet before, and, like, yes, I can call my dad and he would come help, but it was late notice and I did not know what he was up to, and I just was like, I could probably do this myself. We've got tools and whatnot. So I looked up one YouTube video, seemed easy enough. I was like, let's get started. And so I have the whole TikTok so like you can like see where my errors were, but I had to go to Menards 3 separate times yesterday, which like that's
That
what got
alone.
me. Oh my god, the back and forth. I thought I was gonna have to go back a fourth time because I thought the hoses that I got, the water supply lines, I almost thought it wasn't gonna reach, because when I went and got the other ones before, they were 20 inches and like they were like really quite long. So I decided when I went back to get the right ones, I was like, I'll do 16 inches, like it'll be fine. It almost didn't reach, and I was about to actually freak out.
How would you describe, like, because I feel like I know, like, the feeling you're talking about. Like, if you had to, like, describe the feeling.
So here's the thing, too. And someone on my TikTok was validating me. But, like, first of all, I haven't done really, like, I was going to say I haven't done any plumbing, but I just said I've done stuff with my toilet. But I wasn't, like, stuck in a cupboard when I was doing that. And for this, like, you really, unless you've done, like, any sort of handyman type work where you're, like, under in the cupboard, I mean, you just really cannot get comfortable. You can only tolerate doing it really for, like, a little bit at a time before you're like, okay, I gotta get back out of this cupboard and, like, rearrange how I'm, like, situated. And so I was getting so frustrated. There was, like, 4 screws that I needed to undo the water supply lines and then undo the faucet for the sink. And I had a hard enough time getting, like, the water supply line undone, but luckily I'm just dumb, I think, and I was like mixing up my righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, and so I finally got that figured out, and like my wrench worked for that. But then there was these 2 like just absolutely teeny tiny hex bolts in like the hardest to reach spot that like I don't know what tool you're supposed to use to get those off, because like it was so small and like something else was like right up next to it. How you can't use a wrench. I was like, I don't know what to do. So I had pliers that I was trying to like, there was a screw holding the faucet in place, hex bolt around it. I'm trying to take teeny tiny pliers to grab onto the sides of the hex bolt and apply as much force as I possibly can
to rotate.
I'm also stuck under a cupboard at this point. Like,
so you're gonna scream.
It's not comfortable, and it keeps slipping off, and then I have to like take a break to like get out of the cupboard,
Mentally refresh yourself.
So I was having a time getting or not getting those hex bolts out, and I was just like, and what if I already went to try and get a separate tool to try and like make that easier, and it was like not gonna work at all. So I was just like, and so what do? I got like our different tool that I thought was going to work with like the, what is that kit called? Our little,
like the black and red
kit.
I know what you're talking about. I don't remember what the tool is called.
Except the thing is, there's a screw, so there had to be one deep enough. There was one deep enough, but not small enough.
Remember, I told you when I was
bolt.
trying to fix the fence, I was like, the issue is there's a thing in here, it's not long enough, or like I can't get to it.
So anyways, I went back to using the pliers, and lo and behold, somehow, some way, I got them off, and then it was easy enough to remove the sink after that. And then I had like some issues with getting the right water supply lines, so I had to make a couple trips back and forth to do that. But now that all is said and done,
She could do it again.
I did it. And so that makes me feel accomplished, and I think it looks great, and I'm pleased.
At what point would you have called Dad? Like, how close
I was
were
about
you?
to call Dad within the first 5 minutes when I had like water leaking everywhere, and I couldn't get the first bolts off. I really there was multiple times where I was just like, should I call my dad? But I didn't actually, I wasn't actually close enough to picking up the phone, because I was just like, I have no idea what he's doing right now, and like I feel bad. I'm in the middle of the situation.
And I feel like our dad, like, he'd have been like, I'm kind of, but I guess I can, you already have it pulled out. Like,
and I was just like,
this.
I also was just like, and I know what needs to be done. I just can't figure out how to do it. So I was trying to just like be smart and problem solve.
Well, you did it.
Yeah. So
now part 2, she has to replace the drain.
And my dad probably would have hated me, because after I finished doing it, I sent him a picture just to kind of like boost my ego a little bit.
Yeah, she'd be like, look what I did.
And so he had to give me a call to just say like, oh, good job doing that. And then he was like, I really can't handle like getting under a sink and like doing plumbing stuff like that, because he has like a bad back. So he probably would have hated me. Like, I'm sure he would have come to help, but he probably, like, would have been in worse shape than
then
I
he asked for your help,
was.
right?
He
like,
said he's
"I
been
need
meaning
to
to replace his faucets. So I offered my assistance. You know, probably not going to like doing that down the line, but I will be a helpful person. So
Yeah.
I
Hopefully
said,
it would
give
go
me a meal.
easier.
And
He has more tools, too. So,
yeah,
like,
that would hopefully help.
you know, probably has more tools at his disposal, but that would make it a little bit easier. Well, congrats. I was telling Megan, you know, now that you've done the faucet, I feel like you're going to be like, well, what else do I need to do in my bathroom?
I definitely could see myself switching out some silver hardware to some black hardware. I have to still technically install the drain. I have not done that yet. Supposedly, I need like silicone though, or I'm supposed to have silicone when I
do we
am
have
doing that.
silicone?
I don't know. So I just kind of, and I have stuff I need to return from Menards anyways. So I was like, maybe that's a one trip type of deal.
Yeah. Well, good for you. That's a good, you know, proud moment. I feel like whenever we do any household things.
I was telling Ciera, because I've done like a couple, I like had to fix the plunger on my toilet because it kept like leaking. And then I've done now my faucet, and then Ciera and I have replaced a light fixture in our dining room. I've also helped my dad replace a fan, but that was actually like, that had to have been the worst project. But that's because it's like just a lot to manage a fan.
Yeah. And like
do
the lights are hanging,
stuff.
like that's a lot.
So that's the worst, but like otherwise, when we did the light fixture down here, that really wasn't too bad. We had a tutorial
like you
pulled
need
up
two people
on YouTube
because, you know, you got to maneuver the light. Someone has to hold it. Someone has to do the electrical stuff. But it wasn't that hard.
I also feel like just in sharing these, if anyone out there, like, don't underestimate yourself. I would say, like, you'd be surprised what you can learn from a YouTube video. I have replaced a headlight in my car simply by watching a YouTube video. Like, things where you're
My
kind
dad
of like...
and I replaced a car battery.
Things where you're just kind of like, gosh, I don't have any idea how on earth I would do that. There's some good YouTube channels out there, and they're there to help you. So, yeah.
And when we did the car battery, it was so freezing because usually when you buy the car battery at like an AutoZone or wherever, they'll like, you know, put it in for you. They probably charge you to do that. But it was so cold outside, hence why my car battery died. They were like, no, we're not doing it today. So we're like, oh, okay.
Okay, perfect.
So we went to my dad's house. We're in his garage where it's like only minimally warmer than the outdoors. Gloves on, trying to deal with these like tiny little parts. So that was hard. It was tedious. That's like honestly, I think the best way to describe so many of these projects is like, is it hard? Not necessarily, but like there's so many steps or like so many small things to deal with that it's tedious, time consuming.
Mm-hmm.
And that did require my dad's help. I feel like you don't need two people to change a car battery, but I would need two people to change a car battery. You still have to hold stuff out of the way or like whatever. Okay, book updates. What's your book update?
I just recently finished reading Binding 13. I was like, I knew it was like a highly anticipated one. I gave it 4 stars. I enjoyed the series, and I anticipate I will probably continue at least on to the next one, and then we'll kind of decide from there if I want to keep going with the series. I didn't dislike the series, okay? But I just feel like my review is going to be a little bit lackluster because, like, the fans of this book and this series are, like, cult favorites, I feel like. And I didn't feel that way about this particular book. I know some people say the second one is better. So, you know, as I said, I will probably continue reading. I think that if I read this when I was in, like, high school or something, I feel like it would have hit more, you know? Because it is, like, a YA book, and they're in high school. And I feel like I maybe just, like, would have resonated just, like, with their stories and what they were going through a little bit more. So that maybe is part of the reason I am not as attached to the characters in the book. But yeah. The second one is like 900 pages.
Wow. Is it the same characters?
Yes.
YA is something that I realized, if it's not like fantasy or like some sort of like mystery, like YA where like they're not really like in school, like that's not like the main thing, I can't read it. I hope I worded that correctly. Like I'm thinking when I read 1,000 Boy Kisses, that's like a YA romance. I'm sorry guys, I did not really like it. Versus reading like the Inheritance Game series or A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. like those types of books, or like maybe there's other like YA fantasy books that I read where it's like there's other stuff like that's not related to high school. Like it's hard for me to really care. So I have strayed away from most YA book recs that I get these days. So I don't know. Unless you absolutely like love Binding 13 and you like continue on, I don't know if it'll be for me.
Would be the next one.
So is 13 his number?
Yeah. It's all like the numbers are based off of like the guy, main character in the book.
Okay. My reading update is that I read the podcast book club book. Be happy for me because I didn't save it for the end of the month.
That's the one I just started yesterday.
Our podcast book club book for August is Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson. Speaking of A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, it's the same author. And I know she has other books out aside from the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series, but I have not read any of them except for now this one. I gave it 3.5 stars. I'll keep my review brief just because we will do like a full episode on it if you guys are part of the podcast book club. I will say, if you are reading it or are planning on reading it, I would try to not use the audiobook because I used some of the audiobook for it, and I don't feel like the narrator makes the characters very likable. I don't know if they're likable anyways, but her voices for some of them were so annoying. Like, it was kind of like nails on a chalkboard with some of the female characters especially. Like, it was crazy. I might have to just, like, show you at one point anyway so you can listen to, like, find out what I'm talking about. But I was like, okay, I can't listen to this, but I'm going to. So, and now I think I'm going to read Rebel Witch.
That'll be good. Okay.
Okay. Let's dive into the history of third places. Spaces. Brought to you by Wikipedia. Okay. Actually, it's third places, so.
I feel like most people say third spaces, but either or.
Okay. So it's a sociology term that refers to social surroundings that are separate from the two usual social environments of home, which is the first place, and the second place, which is your workplace. Typical third places include churches, cafes, bars, clubs, libraries, gyms, bookstores, hacker spaces, which I was like, I don't really know what a hacker space is. I think it's like, you know, like those rooms where people are just like sitting on computers, like doing hackathons and stuff.
Sure.
I suppose that, but like I guess they're kind of common. It includes stoops, as in like picture a brownstone or something with like a big staircase, like people hanging out on the stairs, parks, theaters, and some other things. There are two, I think, main books about third places. One is by Ray Oldenburg and one is by Karen Christensen. Then they dive into like more of like the sociological concepts of third places. According to the authors, there are 7 characteristics of a third place, which are.
So is this like all third places? We'll just combine the word. All of them have all 7 of these?
They're supposed to.
Okay.
Yes. They are open and inviting in that you don't need an invitation or appointment and you can come and go as you please. They are comfortable and informal. You feel like you belong there. They're convenient, which means that it's close enough to visit often, ideally right in your own neighborhood. They are unpretentious. Everyone is on the same level. There's nothing fancy or fragile, and it's not expensive. There are regulars, and often there's a host who greets people as they arrive.
Well, that's an interesting caveat.
Conversation is the main activity. Discussion, debate, and gossip are part of the mix, and laughter is frequent. The mood is lighthearted and playful. Joking and witty banter are encouraged. I thought this was kind of an interesting little... They include, like, historical third places, and so they mention, like, ancient Greek. Would you say agora or agora, if you like this word?
I don't know. Maybe agora?
Anyway, that's an example of, like, a third space where, like, people would, like, go to, like, a market or something.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, like, the baths.
What?
That would be a third place.
It probably actually is. Like, the Turkish
and, like,
baths in Turkey.
I was thinking of...
Or, like, the Roman baths?
Yeah, I was like, the Roman baths is what I was thinking of.
That's probably a good example. But then I thought it was interesting. The term agoraphobia comes from, like, the Grecian meeting spot. Agora, fear of, like, going in public spaces.
That is interesting.
So, fun fact for you guys. Other examples include imperial Chinese tea houses, European coffee houses. I think Megan had a good example of like the Roman baths. So, and then more modern day examples include like YMCA's, senior centers, shopping centers, malls, coffee shops, etc. So, that is our background.
I feel like we can kind of start off by saying, like, where do we feel like we frequent the most in terms of what do we consider our, if we had to pick one, what's our third space? And then also, like, okay, if we were kind of listing a few different varieties of things that we frequent or places we frequent, what could be considered a third space? I gotta stop
combining it. We're gonna have to name this episode Third Spaces. I do feel like this is interesting living in the U.S. versus other countries, because I think that a lot of how
this could so easily turn into like an urban development podcast episode. Like so easily.
In the Wikipedia actually talks about how urban planning and urban design like often includes.
Do you ever end up on urban design TikTok?
Yes,
I love urban design TikTok.
In another life, you're an urban designer.
I don't want to plan it. I just want to witness it.
See it.
And I appreciate it, and I would vote for it.
Because there was a section on here.
So Shelby Church also is, I'm sure many people have made videos in regards to this topic, but I know Shelby Church made one somewhat recently, and I know she also talked about just kind of like urban planning as a component of her video.
The concept of a third place has been picked up by various small businesses, including it's commonly cited in urban planning literature on the issue of community-oriented business development and public spaces. Because obviously, like, there's that business component. Like, where do we get the people to come?
Let's talk about our third spaces, and then also, like, why do we feel like it's important to have third spaces? What do they provide the people? I feel like I don't have, like, my third space by definition, I think, would be our gym that we go to.
And it,
but I don't
would
feel
be a good
like
third place. I just don't.
We probably we definitely lack
it.
the like community component of it, and which I feel like is an important aspect of the third spaces. I feel like, yes, there are regulars. Yes, we are regulars. Yes, we can come and go as we please, and like I do utilize, the amenities and whatnot.
I mean, it is expensive though.
True, but I definitely don't have like friends at the gym or really even like acquaintances that I'm like catching up with or saying hi to.
Like I see so many people like that will like recognize each other in the locker room, like they're chatting it up. They're talking like what classes they went to. Part of it's probably like a me thing, is that I'm like, I'm going to the gym, I'm working out, and then I'm leaving. So I think if I, utilized the gym more outside of just like going to do a workout, that would be when it would be a potential third space for me. But I just don't.
Like, there's definitely people where I'm kind of like, you're like a next level member compared to me. Like, there's people that like go and sit in the cafe and like they'll work a little bit in there, or
like they go to the pool
maybe they've got
summer long.
They go to the pool. Maybe they go to like some of the group exercise classes that are just going to be naturally more conducive to a more community type of feel.
Or like they have events and stuff that go on at our gym. Like they probably go to those events. I saw like a freaking sound bath that they were doing at the pool was being advertised. Like, those are the people who use the gym as a third space. You're going to a sound bath?
Yeah, that's crazy.
But like the thing is, like, not that I wouldn't. I just don't think the gym would be an ideal third place for me.
Even though it is by definition your third place.
Yes. Like, I wouldn't want to be like my place where I spend more time at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Spending time there just to spend time there. Like, I'm trying to get in, I'm trying to get out. Usually.
Where else then, if you feel like you've already kind of incorporated other options for third spaces, where else do you feel like you've got like a fourth and fifth place?
You know what's funny? And I hate this. The mall is probably
I don't feel like you can. I would disagree with that by definition. I feel like we go to the mall a lot to, have something to do and like go walk around. But I feel like it lacks a lot of the things that you just listed. The regulars at the mall.
What if the children's play place with a third space. Not that I would be utilizing it for that, but like,
I mean, it could be for because people
there are
who would use it.
regulars. You meet up with the same families. You can converse.
I feel like you almost need, like, your third space needs to be a little bit more quaint than that. A little bit more intimate than, like, an entire mall.
I would agree. So there should be size restrictions on a third space.
I would say libraries, if you're in school, make a good amount of sense for a third space. But again, it also kind of depends on, like, how much of a socialization component you want, because when we were in school, for example, I know we would go together, but, like, we weren't really, like, inviting a whole group to come to the library with us, or it wasn't, like, the norm to just, like, meet up with other people at the library. That's usually because I like to, you know, if I was going to study, I was, like, going to go lock in and, like, didn't want to be bothered. But as, like, an in-between class type of thing, I think that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Would you ever, like, now that we're obviously out of school, like, public libraries still exist, would you, like, I have a public library
Not
card.
until I have a kid.
But
If I have a kid, I could see myself utilizing that space more often.
I really should look into, like, what all, like, the library offers, because I feel like they do offer more.
They
than
have
meets the
craft
eye.
nights. Like, I've looked briefly at some events. I know most libraries have, like, craft nights and stuff. Like, it definitely can be a community.
It's also hard
centered.
because you need to find, like, the third place where your people are at.
Because that's
So, like,
honestly, like, that's the whole point.
like, you're saying, you know, family, kids, that's probably who is using the library as a third place. So then why would I be utilizing it as a third place? So that's another part of the equation. Where
I
are
feel
the
like
cool
really
20-year-olds?
Really, the question becomes, what's going to make you stick with the third space and make it feel like a warm, inviting space that you want to keep going to is, like, the people that are there. I think that's the big difference. And so I feel like in establishing a third space, like, for us specifically, I feel like this is, like, a bad personality trait, I would say, on our part, but, like, I feel like we really prefer to, like, invest time and energy into, like, people that we know we're gonna, like, get along with well, and, like, we really don't do a good job with, like, surface level acquaintances, even just for, like, small talk.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that probably just doesn't, like, I'm also mostly speaking for myself now. I feel like I come off very judgmental, and, like, I definitely have an RBF. I don't think I'm very approachable, and unfortunately I think that's just part of my personality. And so I think that makes it harder to go to third spaces and, like, just I know absolutely no one initially, and then, like, feel welcome, and, like, you can have good conversation with the people that are there. I was gonna say a little aside I should have brought up earlier when we were talking about, like, urban planning and development and stuff like that. I feel like such a hypocrite for being, like, such a proponent of
Suburbia.
No, I was going to say being a proponent of, like, the ideas of urban planning and, like, getting things developed
Like walkable
like that.
cities.
Walkable cities. But then, like, I myself, I live in suburbia, and, like, I kind of love suburbia a little bit. And I try to wrestle with those two things in my mind. Part of it is just, like, I think part of it is, like, I don't know what I'm missing because I haven't experienced that. Mm-hmm. Like, we did live in Iowa City, which was, like, far more walkable. Like, that really is probably, like, one of the most walkable cities in Iowa, which isn't saying much, but, like, we did a lot of walking when we were in college.
Mm-hmm.
Versus now, I mean, like, it just really not an option.
You have to drive.
You have to be living downtown to be any sort of feasible walking city. And, you know, we live in our house, and I like living in our house, and I like having a yard, and I know there's, like, ways around that, like, people have, like, developed, you know, neighborhoods that still have components of, like, businesses to kind of allow you to have both of those things. But yeah, I just was like, I felt necessary to bring up that, like, I'm literally at odds with what I'm saying I like, because I am not moving downtown.
I feel like one of the hard parts is, like, the green space component, like especially like having a dog, you know, I'm like, well, I want to like let them out and then bring them in. You know, I don't know what that would look like. I feel like most people that live in a walkable area, like unless they have a townhouse or something, like they have to take their dog out on a leash to whatever grassy area there is. So like that would be the downside. I am on a Reddit thread. This is Ask an American. What is your third place is the question. And also says, for a lot of us, I'm pretty sure the mall used to be our third place 20 or 30 years ago. What is your third place now? In my case, it's sad, but Walmart. I spent hours in Walmart checking clothes and home products, and sometimes I go with my mom or friends to check things. Besides, there I go to the cafe or bar that my friend works at. Someone said, I don't have a third space. I even work from home, so my second place is just my first place. That's the other issue, I feel like, since we had mentioned the pandemic, altering third spaces, is that like a lot of people do now only have like their home is their only place, and they don't have a physical job location to be at, and so they work from home and like they just get trapped and like don't have anywhere else to go. That was when I was looking at stuff for this episode, like there's the rise of co-working spaces to either A, give you that new second place, or in some cases they try like become that third place where it like does try to build more community.
Does that become your second or third place because you're going for work?
I mean, I feel like it would be your second place almost, just because
like that's
the goal is not conversation or like, you know, community interaction. Like you're still there to work.
Right.
So that would be, you know, unless you go there when you're not working, but I don't know who's going to do that. Someone said I volunteer at a railroad museum and spent a lot of time there with the other volunteers and visitors. So I guess that qualifies.
Oh, volunteering. That would be a good
third space.
Example of a third space.
Someone said the beach. I love the beach. Is that it's a church, gym, library, park, restaurant. You're allowed to just be there. I think that was not a proper sentence.
You kind of confused me.
I'm just reading something.
Church is probably also like for many people that's probably like a valid third space because there's usually so many community events going on within that.
You're definitely a regular if you're going to church.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's probably a big one.
Not something at this point in my life that's not really my third space, but
someone said probably the gym, but my favorite hiking trail and the bar at happy hour are close seconds. I had a thought that I want your take on. I feel like a bar can be a third place, but like a dive bar is definitely a third place.
Yes. Like something that's like locally owned and
like y'all are literally there to hang out. Like maybe you got one beer when you got there, but you've been here for 5 hours. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a regular bar
that have. I feel like also like a barber shop could have that kind of vibe.
Like
and
you got your haircut 2 hours ago, but you're still sitting in the chair because Jimmy came and he's getting his haircut.
Yeah.
But the salon, I guess, for women. Nail salon?
Maybe. I was going to say salon. I was like, usually like for a salon, it's not like a barber shop. They're going to kick you out.
Yeah.
Like
maybe like not a salon, like not a formal salon, but like a locally owned,
like a, is there like a beauty
hair type of thing? Like, you know what I mean? Like you're picturing like the older women with like the magazines and like someone's getting their hair drying over there and like they're still conversing. That's the other issue is I feel like now a lot of beauty salons and things like that are more like high-end expensive, like you go to your appointment and then you leave, and B, sometimes like it's often like the rent-a-chair type of places now where like it's not really like a business as a whole, it's individual
it's just like
stylists and
yep.
So that's the other issue with that type of third space. The local library's makerspace, the park. Someone said the former Starbucks barista in me actually flinched reading this question. If anyone wants to know, a third place is a place. Oh, they're just explaining what third place is. Often there's little to no cost to spend time there. Starbucks promotes itself as a third place, as you can just chill in their store all day if you want. And they do free refills on basic drinks.
How old is this question? Because I would argue now that Starbucks is not
This is
trying
a
to do
response
that.
from 2 years ago.
A lot of people have kind of like Starbucks is one of many companies that I feel like in some ways is almost like limiting their ability to be a third space, because like some restaurants or cafes have rules of like, oh, like you're not allowed to get your laptop out, you know, you're not allowed to do work here, which I think it's just because they want more people in and out so they get more sales. But then that's a valuable component of a business to be seen as, you know, a place you can sit down and be a regular at, I feel like. You know what I just had a flashback to? Not for me personally, but like there's not Rachel Southard, but there's a different person that I used to occasionally watch on YouTube, and she is now a general surgery America. Is that her name? Have you heard of her?
I don't know.
I feel like you'll have, like, if I show a picture of her, I think you'll recognize her. But I, like, when I had watched her sometimes, she was, like, making medical school vlogs. And her, do you know what her third place was?
What?
I feel like I've shown you this. She would go study and spend all day at a Denny's.
Wow. Do you remember our classmate who would go to McDonald's?
Oh, my God, yeah.
And McDonald's was
Does
his
she still
third
come back
space?
to you at all?
Maybe.
Anyways, I was like, when I was watching her vlog, I was just like, you're going to study where? And she just posts up at Denny's all day. But then I also was kind of like, can I really judge you? Because guess where Ciera and I used to post up when we were studying?
Panera.
Like, we literally, we'd be there 8 hours. There were times.
Yep.
Multiple meals there.
You go there for breakfast,
Then
have lunch.
Ciera had to, like, go on a hiatus from Panera for, like, 4 years.
I honestly don't know if I've been back in
There's no way
while.
you've never been back.
Since when? Since grad school?
I don't know. Have I not dragged you there? There hasn't been a single time I've made you go.
We would have only gone to one or two locations. We would have gone to the one on University, or we would have gone to the one on 86th. Have we been there?
Well, I have.
I
Not
don't
with-
think I
not
have.
with you.
I don't think so.
Those are like prime. Panera is a prime study. If you want to eat something and you want to feel comfortable studying, like that's where you go. Or Denny's, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. I would feel a little bit self-conscious about Denny's, but you know.
That's what I would too.
Someone said, IKEA is my third place. It's great to roam and talk if you bring friends. Food is available at a good price.
Here's the
and
thing, though. Is it
tasty.
really a third space if you're having to like supply the friends yourself?
That's what I was
You
like.
know what I mean?
Like, the workers don't count, you know, as your third space people, I feel like.
They're your hosts.
And so, unless you also have other people who are utilizing IKEA as a third place, you're not seeing regulars. You're the regular. But
And
no
you've
one's
got
going
like
as
the
often
place,
as you.
but no one else there.
I was like, is Homemakers our third place? Could it be? You know what is interesting? And this has to do with more of like the, I feel like, walkable city components, but like they do go hand in hand. There are more developments in Des Moines, in the suburbs, that are, I think, generating places to be third places. So Johnston Town Center is like being constructed as we speak. I don't know if you have driven past it at all or if you've like seen it at all, but I just drove past it within the past week or two. And do you know where it's at?
I think so.
Like by Back Pocket,
Yeah.
Pixel and Brewing.
Is
Like,
that not a component of it?
is what it is going to be. Yeah, that's a component of it.
Okay.
But like I don't know what
They're
other
almost like
stores.
they're like, we've already like decentralized, so like we are making our own little like town community square.
Yeah.
Is what it feels like.
Yeah. I don't know what all they have.
In Waukee,
There already?
they've got like the whole Grand Prairie Parkway development. That's become like a giant development where it's kind of like, okay, you might not live here. Some people, like, there's obviously houses in development close to that, but it's like you could at least travel to this area, and then
area.
it becomes walkable.
Otherwise, in Ankeny, like that whole district by like the movie theater.
Prairie Trail.
Yes, Prairie Trail, where they've got like all those walkable places that you like, you know, all the shops. There's a fitness center. Again, I don't know, like those to me, maybe some of those specific businesses qualify as third places.
But again, we're like too large now.
Yeah.
Like it goes hand in hand, but it's not like that whole area can't be a third place.
Mm-hmm. Do you think Smash Park could be a third place?
I think it could be. I already thought of that.
That was our third place for a while. Trivia at Smash Park. Their food is so expensive now, though. And they
Not
don't
that
have
good.
those churro fries anymore. Well, they do, but that's we need it with icing, and they only have it with caramel sauce. So I can't get it anymore. Because, like, really, if you didn't want to buy anything, you don't have to. Like, I don't think anyone's going to bug you to buy anything. There are activities there that are free typically. There is food available if you want food. There are, workers or hosts that, like, check on you. There are definitely regulars. Like, I was one.
Their regular events. So, you can kind of find your niche and then you become a regular for whatever suits you.
Like, I don't know. Like, I do like Smash Park. We obviously don't go as much anymore because we don't go to trivia nights that much. But I do feel like that type of space, was as close to a third space as I maybe have gotten.
I feel like, because I had mentioned earlier, like, that we care a lot about, like, the people we, like, would want to interact with at third spaces. And so, like, in some ways, I feel like we've kind of crafted our own third space with book club. But, like, does that still count because it's not its own physical place? I feel like it doesn't meet the definition.
Like, here's the thing. We have fostered our own sense of community, which is oftentimes what people go to third places for. So in some ways, like, do we technically maybe need a third place? Maybe not. If we already feel like we have a sense of community, sense of belonging in other facets of life or, like, in other ways, shapes, or forms. But I do feel like, if someone just moved to Des Moines, they're like, I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do.
And I know you've seen this person too. I can't remember her name actually. She was in Hawaii and now she lives here for whatever reason. I have no idea. But she's kind of been promoting Des Moines as, like, a cool, fun city to be. And since she's new here and she's trying to meet people, she's, like, established, like, a Des Moines girls club or something. And I just, like, sometimes see it pop up on my TikTok, but I haven't really seen what it's all about. And again, like, since it's variable, like, times and places and locations, it kind of is similar to a book club in the sense that it's, like, a separate way to develop community rather than necessarily, like, a third place, because you don't have, like, the in
I feel
and
like
out.
this is, like, the online, like, the way that the internet is trying to, like, reestablish third places, or, like, at least the purpose of a third place is through, like, these online meetup groups.
I feel like otherwise it's like everyone is like, well, where do I go to, like, establish my third place and sense of community? And, like, we're lacking such answers that people are just like, well, I'll just, like, make something and it's gonna probably be a different place and time all the time, but at least we'll be in the know.
Yeah. Like, you think about, I'm, like, flashing back to, like, Stranger Things just as, an example of media that I've seen that portrays, like, what is it, the 70s or 80s? And, like, the mall, definitely a third space, like, back in the day. Like, people would go and just, like, hang out there.
Like, you could just, like, expect to, like, see friends there.
Yeah. Nowadays, I mean, our mall is busy. I feel like it's gotten a lot busier lately. But it's definitely, like, you're there to shop and then you leave. You don't really hang out there.
Linger and hang around.
So, the middle school kids,
I was
like,
just gonna...
At the mall used to be our third place. Not us, really, but, like, our middle school.
Friday night, if you were in middle school and you weren't at the mall...
Which we weren't.
Which we were not.
You weren't cool.
No. And it's, like, Apple stores, this had to have been, like, a widespread thing. But, like, people would go into, like, the Apple stores when it was, like, not set up how it is now. And, like, they would just, like, mess around on all the, like, computers and take photos and photo booth. And, like, then they'd upload,
the album
to 50 photos to their Facebook page to show, like, oh, look at who I was hanging out with, like, Friday night at the mall. And then you had FOMO if you weren't there, which
you're like, I'm not even friends with you. Yeah. Or you'd be like, you guys are together. That was funny. That's a funny little, like, flashback. What are middle schoolers doing these days?
They're all just on TikTok.
Where's their third place? They have to go somewhere.
Where do middle schoolers go? Oh my God. Football games and sporting events. That's kind of a third place.
Yeah, but it's seasonal.
I know, but still.
I get what you're saying.
Isn't it crazy school's about to start up?
No, I know. Okay.
Football's about to start. Yeah. We're so close to football season.
Are we happy? Are we excited?
I'm happy.
Or are we ready to be heartbroken?
No, I've heard good things about our quarterback this year for Iowa.
For the last little bit of the podcast, we kind of want to pivot and talk about the internet as a kind of pseudo third place. as we mentioned, I feel like part of the reason third spaces or places, whatever we're saying, are dwindling is because of the rise of the internet and people finding community elsewhere. And like at the end of the day, we're trying to find community. And so I do think obviously it's important to find in-person community and like people that you can actually physically meet with and interact with, but there also is benefits to finding community online.
And sometimes that's easier if you've got either physical limitations or if you just yourself feel like you are not having, like, let's say you like live in a super small town and you just feel like you're not finding your people. The internet is obviously like a wide, you can find anyone that you could possibly need to get along with on the internet. There's a space for you.
Yes. So what do you feel like are your internet third spaces? I feel like we have a unique situation in that we've almost made our own little ecosystem.
Kind of cultivated a third space
because we post on the internet. So like not everyone posts like as like a content creator or influencer online. It's like we've developed our own audience. You guys who, you know, we have a community with who, you know, in some ways this is a third space where we get to like, I see regular viewers, commenters, like, you know, we interact with you guys. And in some ways, you know, that is my internet community versus I feel like you guys hopefully, you know, feel as though our little ecosystem is possibly like a place for you that you feel welcome. Maybe you interact with people that you see, you know, commenting regularly.
I feel like we've further cultivated that or tried to cultivate that with our book club too, to just, you know, have a more reciprocal relationship with you guys for those of you that are interested. Because like, yes, we try and like get back to you guys and comment and reply to your stuff if you're reaching out to us, but it can be challenging sometimes. And so like the book club has been like a really good way for us to interact back and forth with you guys over kind of like a shared topic of discussion. And then also I think the thing that I was hoping would happen more so too is just like you guys connecting with each other outside of us as well. Because sometimes like, you know, having the book club, I feel like that's a good setup for that versus like, you know, maybe you're commenting on our post, but people aren't necessarily like, you're usually commenting directed towards us, and then people aren't necessarily, you know, they might also then just be commenting towards us and not necessarily interacting in the comments down below.
Outside of our own little ecosystem, I think that Facebook groups are like a huge source of
It used
community.
to be like way more popular for me like a few years ago and not as much now. Like I feel like I hardly ever go on Facebook groups now.
How many are you part of though?
Not a lot. I'm on like the Fun on Weekdays Facebook group, but like I don't go to the page myself to check often. So like it's whatever just, like,
pops
the random.
I do think like if you could find like the right group with the right types of people that you connect with, like that can be like a really fulfilling like community thing to get involved in. And then also if it is a group related to certain interests, then like that, you know, gives you more motivation to join said group, maybe learn more. Like if you, like Megan could join a crochet group if she wanted to, and like, you know, that would give her some ideas, and like she could
or there's always the option of like these
advice.
Groups to like segue into the real world, like Facebook groups. I'm sure there's, you know,
meetups.
I know there's an Iowa Girls Facebook group, you know. I don't know that they've ever established like in-person type of stuff, but like, you know, that's just an example of that.
What other examples can you think of like outside of Facebook, YouTube?
I mean,
do you feel like TikTok is a space conducive to finding community?
Not really any more than anywhere else on the internet. I don't know that it has any more of the things on the checklist of what makes a third space.
Yeah. Any other internet third spaces? I know Discord is like, I personally don't use Discord.
That's probably honestly like that's probably the most realistic
Reddit
third
also,
space. I was gonna say Reddit. I was gonna say Reddit, but also it's like I think it's hard because, granted, like anonymity or not is not like, you know, you don't have to have that for a third space, but like Reddit, everything is anonymous basically, and so I feel like yes, you're developing, you know, community within whatever, but like you don't really know those people, so that's kind of maybe a barrier.
I really like, I've been on Discord, but I feel like I never know what's going on in there.
I've never really understood it. But from what I know.
Like, I know it's like an online chat room. And that's
there's
about
categories, and you can be in certain ones based on your interests. And, like, they can subdivide those Discords. That's what I know, too. So but that's about all I know.
Let me know if you guys think I would like Discord. Should I check it out? I can't make any promises. But I think that's going to do it for this episode. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let us know your take on third places. If you feel like you have like an established third place, what is it? How often do you go? If you have any ideas for third places for people to try out, if you're watching the YouTube video, you could comment it down below. If you are following us on Instagram, we have an episode post that goes up for all of our episodes. You could comment on the episode post. Or like, how else do you feel like you find community? How do you feel fulfilled in that regard in life?
Keep the conversation going on our social pages. With that being said, that's going to do it for this week's episode. First of all, make sure you guys like, subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe on there. And we will talk to you guys next Thursday.
Bye.